Okay, so this is just to go over some of the changes that I am making, in the cabinet in terms of the cabinet, and then some different features that I'm going to be adding. My original thought was I was going to potentially do a new model and call it an LE and then just bump all my other models down. But what I think I'm going to do is just say, here's my base LE model. Do you want to add this? Do you want to add this? Do you want to add this? I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm not exactly sure, but I guess this is a look of the new cabinet. Is this exciting to look at? Probably not, because I've already made changes from this. Let's ignore that. So this is my newest model, or my newest cabinet. So this is my display model or my floor model for the LE, and I'm going to put as many upgrades as I can into it. So when I have customers come over, this is what they can see, this is what they can play, they can touch, they know what a 120 hertz or 144 hertz machine is, and then that's a floor model for 60 hertz machine. So that's a premium model, and this is going to be an LE. So basically the changes from the video, I'll go back in time and I'll basically show you all the changes from that video that I sent you before. So number one, whoops, I don't know how well I can get under here. Across the top, or across the bottom I should say, that's usually where I had the amplifiers. The amplifiers are now inside the cabinet. So you can just reach inside the coin door. It's hard to tell from the video, but that's maybe 8 inches in. I'm obviously not too far into the cabinet. So pretty easy to just turn your sound on and off or turn it up and down. Again, pinball could be implemented to turn the sound up and down just with buttons and stuff like that. But generally there's not a ton of volume changing that you're doing between tables. It's a very, very dialed in type of thing, just like going and changing the point of view for every single table. That's very much an end user type of thing, because obviously I can't go and guess for a customer, hey, what volume do you want all your different sounds on and stuff like that. So that's one thing. Underneath this one, that's where my gun holsters are going to be for the guns. So when you're not using the guns, I'm just going to talk about the guns for a second. So when you're not using the guns, you don't have all the wires hanging down, you don't have the guns hanging down and stuff like that. They would all be tucked under, and then when you're walking up and you're looking to it, it looks exactly like a virtual pinball machine. When you do want to play the guns just come out here, and then you're shooting the guns. And you would be playing the gun games back there. That's the speech on the guns. So I've implemented an RGB apron button. So that's like your button on your Stern games, right? So it works like that for tables like Lethal Weapon. So Lethal Weapon has a gun trigger where you have to shoot a gun when you do certain things. It would be the same thing for this. It's going to say fire your weapon and you hit that. That's what that's for. I have the ability to make these the same as this, which is an RGB LED. So these would light up. I don't know if I'm going to set them to, this is obviously customizable, but you can have it set to the same thing as the RGB undercab and the speakers. So let's say this is flashing purple, this will be flashing purple, your undercab's flashing purple. I don't know if that's the best one to do, or if they already have in DOF, if they have it set up where it's, hey, you're playing Creature from the Black Lagoon, these are going to be just solid green. Or you're playing Monster Bash, they switch from blue to green to purple, depending which guy you're fighting. I'm not exactly sure, haven't set those up yet. Shaker motor, plunger. So one thing, so this was kind of my interim step. I've literally built one like this, where I got rid of the controller board. Let me explain that for a sec. In the old video, you may have seen right here, there is a zero delay controller board that I used for my buttons. That's because I was dumb and I don't know how to crimp wires. Well, I've now bought myself a wire crimper. I'm crimping wires. So I'm not even using these, which are quick connects to go into pre-crimped wires that I bought for arcade buttons. I just now have a wire, and the wire goes directly from the plunger board directly into there. So there's no splice. It goes direct from the plunger board into the button wire, which is exactly how it should be done. And 7 years later, I'm finally doing it that way. In terms of delay and lag, that zero delay board never implemented any kind of lag that was noticeable anyways. The lag comes in you getting a 60 hertz machine versus a 120 hertz machine. No matter what anyone tells you, I'm going to say this, I'm 99% confident, you cannot have a zero lag system if you're playing on a 60 hertz TV. I've never seen it. This is based on a 43-inch screen. You can have 60 hertz on a 28-inch, and you'll probably never notice it. But because, it's got to refresh such a huge monitor, you need 120 hertz, or else you're going to get flipper lag. It's just how it is. It's not necessarily terrible. The flipper lag goes away the more you play it. So that's why everyone who says they have a 60 hertz machine and that's the only machine they have and they never, go back and forth between a real one, they're going to say, because I said it for 5 years. Oh my goodness, I don't know what these people are talking about. There's no flipper lag. There is flipper lag. But not on 120, 144 type of thing. I've also upgraded to the actual stern leg plates. I don't know how well you can see this because it's not lit. Before I was making them out of wood. Now they're the metal brackets, so it's a lot more sturdy that way. These were the base pucks. Let me see if I can turn on a light for you. So those are the base pucks or the base shakers. So that is, let's call it a subwoofer for the 2.1 sound out. And the 2.1 sound is for your flippers. Basically everything on the bottom half of the play field. So your ball rolling sounds on the bottom half, your flippers, your slingshots, all the sounds that come out of the bottom half of the machine, that comes out of your exciter and your tactile base shaker. So because this is like the upgraded model. The base LE model is the 25 watt Dayton Audio FP58EX, I think it's called, something like that. So it's just a 25 watt version. This is a 50 watt version. So I just get bigger, better amps, bigger, better speakers, the exciters, these guys there. That's an upgraded feature. It's going to be one of those things where I work through. So if a customer says, hey, Derek, I'm using Pinball and I started, dialing back the sound and stuff like that. Well, if you're dialing back the surround sound feedback, maybe these exciters aren't worth the money because these obviously give you much more feedback. And why pay for a lot more feedback if you're just going to dial back the feedback? So that's the part that I'm not 100% sure on yet. Like I said, I build my machines where I don't use the physical nudge. I just use the digital nudge. Because some people forget, some people have difference of opinions. So I own a real machine and I play it and it's a brand new stern. There is very, very little, outside of when the shaker motor goes off, there is very little tactile feedback you get from a real pinball machine. There's a lot of sound. When the pop bumpers go off, it makes a lot of noise, but there's some tactile feedback, but obviously there's not an accelerometer in here that really cares whether there's a feedback. But in terms of the virtual pinball machine, it's hard to quantify, but like if you were blindfolded, let's put it this way. If you were blindfolded and you were, you had your hands on a machine and you had your hands on a real machine, and I'm not asking you which one's real and which one's fake. I'm saying, which one do you physically feel more? Which one are you physically interacting with more? It's significantly more on a virtual pinball machine than a real pinball machine. It's not saying it's more realistic, because obviously if it feels more, then it's not as realistic because it's a completely different feel. But this is doing everything through sound, so these exciters are literally making the cabinet shake, and that's where the vibrations are coming out, and that's making sound, right? So the cabinet is vibrating all the time. Whereas with this one, unless you're hitting pop bumpers, it's doing absolutely nothing. If you're hitting the pops and you're hitting the slings, you feel tactile. Anywhere else, you don't feel anything. Whereas with the virtual, it's rolling around here, it's making ball noises out of the speakers. So this part of the cabinet is moving, then this part of the cabinet's moving, then this part of the cabinet's moving. So there's more feedback. Anyways, this is an upgraded output board. So now with this new output board, you've got 12 different outputs you can put on your, let's just call it day and night. So this is your day, this is your night. You don't have to use the night mode, and then you can have 24 different inputs, or you can have 12 inputs for daytime and then for nighttime, and then with moving this wire and installing a button, wiring that up to like an on-off switch, then you can turn on and off night mode. So if you had a shaker motor, let's say you wanted to put on, I don't even know what's on there, maybe it's a blower motor, maybe it's contactors, not solenoid, anyways, contactors. If you had replay knockers, if you had chimes, well, those things are all loud. You don't want to be playing that at midnight. Go flip off your on and off switch. the night mode gets disconnected, and then those outputs stop working. So that's something that can get implemented. Because the nice thing with virtual pinball machines, they have Bluetooth. So if you're playing at night and you wanted to, you could flip on night mode. You could put in your AirPods, connect it just directly to your AirPods, and then you have all the noises coming out of your headphones, and the machine is basically 100% silent, other than the sound of you hitting the buttons. So under here, there's going to be optional. There's going to be gun holsters, optional RGB LEDs versus just, let's say, I was just going to put a solid green on this because the machine, the cabinet is kind of trimmed green. So I was just going to put green LEDs. I put green speakers. But talking with my hardware guy, Zeb's Boards, he went through and he built me all this. And then he said, hey, well, why don't you put RGB LEDs? So not addressable, but just RGB where it can switch between the three colors, kind of like this. And then the cabinet can still go underneath the cab and it can change colors. The speakers will change colors with it. Right now I just have solid green in there, so I'm gonna have to take those out and put new ones in. What else? So speaker lighting is something that I've added. Beacons. So I haven't actually installed these yet. I originally said they were RGB. They might just be red and blue. Not 100% sure. Or that might just be the DOF coding that Steve from Zeb's Boards did, and it only showed red and blue. So the thing with these that he thought was a good idea, I can't get them off right now, there's no moving parts in there, so there's nothing really to break. It's an LED ring, and then the LEDs just go in this ring mode type of thing, and that's what makes it look like it's swirling versus having something like that where it actually swirls and then the mechanics can break. So there's no moving parts with it, which is, in my opinion, one of the biggest perks of a virtual pinball machine. Basically, if anything breaks, it's because the hardware is broken and it's just really easy to replace. Hey, my speaker blew up. Okay, unscrew your speaker, put in a new speaker, click in 2 wires, done. A fan broke, replace the fan. My shaker motor broke, replace the shaker motor. Versus on the real thing, hey, my flipper stopped working. Okay, well, maybe you blew a coil, maybe you blew a fuse, maybe, which was the issue with this one, the transistors and the resistors and the diodes, like the whole thing kind of worked its way through the board and shot. And then Zeb's Boards was nice enough to go and not replace the board, but fix the board for me and replaced all those different things, which I could never do. No idea, didn't know how to diagnose it. This thing was down for 6 months because I'm not a pinball guy. Whereas any one component goes on this, it's going to take you longer to get the part shipped in than it is going to get you to fix it. You can probably fix any individual component on here. If your cabinet looked like this, 10-15 minutes, and I'm sending you a tutorial video showing you exactly how to do it, or we're on the phone. Very, very easy. Most of the stuff I have done with quick connect wires, not because it's 100% the best way to do it, but it's more so if this speaker goes, unscrew the speaker, put the speaker back in, and you're literally just plugging the wires in there. You don't have to worry about cutting the wire and splicing it and electrical tape and morettes and all this other stuff that you may or may not have laying around. Everything is disconnectable, let's call it, so that you can easily get it in and out. Lights, flashers. I'm begging this one dude online who has a business and just saying, hey, can you send me blank toppers so I can go and make the topper and put my own decals on it? The guy doesn't want my business. What it is, he's just not replying to my emails. But I'm hopefully going to be able to say, hey, if you want toppers, I can do toppers. They're fairly basic, simple toppers, but at least there's a topper there. We've got optional hinge decals. So this is just a decal that I put on. The whole thing, not just the sticker. This whole thing is a decal just so it's a little bit more seamless. That's something new on the new ones. I don't have it fully installed, but all the LEs, they come with the beer cup holder. I think that's about it. The not that you need to know necessarily, but what I'm waiting on from Zeb's Boards is a resistor board. And the resistor board is what is needed so that I can run all these RGB LEDs and they don't blow up because these ones don't have diodes on them. So they need a resistor board in between. So I'm just waiting on that. And then I can finally start building this thing. Yeah, that's about it. So basically what happens is I kind of go through and I just educate, get as many questions and stuff out of the way with customers. If they want more information, then I usually send them it's a little bit more detailed of a spec sheet. Actually, it's not more detailed. But anyways, I send a spec sheet that says, this is exactly what you get. This is exactly what the prices are. Here's all the add-ons that are available if you want any add-ons. So everyone knows exactly what the cost is, what the price is, everything you're getting. You know absolutely everything before you ever make any commitments and sign any paperwork saying you're ordering and stuff like that. So I do it that way. Customers have no surprises. I don't have any surprises on my ends with customers saying, hey, I thought I was getting this and I thought I was getting this. I'm upfront with absolutely everything. You know exactly what you're getting. You know exactly what the price is before you ever commit to anything. That way everyone stays happy and no one has any surprises. As much as possible, I like people to come physically be able to touch the machine so they can see exactly how it looks and how it plays and all that other stuff. Obviously, when I'm selling across Canada or into the States, that's not always an option. So I like doing these videos just so they can see, because you were saying, I would really like a lockdown bar and side rails. Well, I can't do that. One thing I'm thinking of toying around with is building in the graphic that it looks like a side blade. I haven't exactly done that yet, so it's just a side blade overlay. And that could look potentially really cool. Haven't done that yet. I might do that in the future. Generally, I wait for a customer to beg me for something, and I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds like a good upgrade. I'll do that, which is what I ended up doing with those. Customer said, hey, can I get some kind of decal on the side? Yep, that's easy enough. I think that's about it. Oh, so I can show you. So here would be an example. So you can kind of see how the glass there is bezeled, right? So that hides the TV screen, because if I were to put the TV in here, depending on the model, you might have a bezel on the TV that's 3/4 of an inch from each side. And that's so if a screen ever has to get replaced, well, maybe you're ordering a screen that's been discontinued. Well, you can't put the exact same screen in, so it's not going to be the exact same fit. And now you have a gap and you don't have any way to close the gap and stuff like that. Whereas this way, all you would have to do is, if you got a screen that's bigger or smaller the next time you put it in, you could fix it with spray paint, or you could just go and get a vinyl decal like this from a sign shop or something like that, and then you just resize the vinyl bezel. I think that's about it. Again, it's more just to kind of show you the changes between that video that I showed you, which was mainly a premium model, and then moving to this one, and then also let's call it the new cabinet and stuff that I was doing. I guess basically the one thing is, where is it? Oh, so that button right there at the front of the machine, that's now where my power button is versus over there, because some people were saying, hey, I've got machines lined up side to side to side. It's a little bit hard to get to the middle of the cabinet. Well, now it's just right here. That's not very hard to get to, even if you had a machine beside it. I think that was mainly it. I got rid of some of the holes. This is probably going to be a hole for the LED lights from underneath the cabinet to come through. There may be one on the other side. I might install one over here. If customers want a day-night switch installed, then I can put a day-night switch there. They have a power button, and then they have a physical toggle one for on-off for the day and night. But as of now, the shaker motor is really the only thing that I'm selling that has the day-night feature. The chimes would be something that's on there. That's not something I'm going to keep in stock, because I think Steve told me they're going to be about $300. So that's going to be for a customer like, hey, is it beneficial for me to have real chimes in the machine? It's $300. I'm just installing them at cost because they're literally plug and play. But then they're going to be, for lack of a better word, made to order. But he gets stuff built really, really quick. So it wouldn't delay the machine at all. Yeah, I think that's it. I'll keep the video short at 20 minutes. But like I said, I will probably make another video at some point just to show you things like the guns and stuff. So like I said, there's just a little light bar that goes up top of there. And then I've got it 99% dialed in. Basically, I've made the machine now so outside of waking up from Windows 11, which is something I'm working on, but outside of that, everything you need to do with the cabinet in terms of, hey, I'm playing pinball, now I want to go and switch it to light gun mode, everything can be done with pressing buttons on the machine. You don't actually have to pull out the keyboard. So you can close Pinball X as the front end. Closing Pinball X opens up another Joy to Key script so that you could either be fiddling around on the desktop because you want to install new tables or whatever, but then if you hit a specific button, then it will close that joy to key, open up hyperspin, open up a new hyperspin joy to key profile. So now all your buttons will work on the hyperspin, and you can switch between MAME and Naomi and Model 2, Model 3, Technoparrot and stuff like that. So you can go through all the different gun games. And then again, when you back out of hyperspin, then it loads a script that says, hey, buttons are ready. Switch the monitor profile and then boot up Pinball X. And then it's going to boot up Pinball X again, and then you're back into pinball mode. So you can switch between the two, let's just say 5 seconds and 2 button presses or so. You can be switching between pinball mode and arcade mode and never have to touch the keyboard. So right now, I literally just need the keyboard for 1 button, and I'm trying to get rid of it, but it's Windows 11, and it's absolutely painful. I'm trying to work through those problems. That's about it. If you have any other questions from this video or any other questions at all, let me know, because obviously if you have that question, maybe other people have those questions, and then it helps me build content in terms of, hey, these are common questions that people ask. Thanks very much. Have a good one. Bye.